Hey folks, I wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up about how to use the programming environment for CMU, the Computer Science Academy. First of all, what we're looking at, this is a web page, but this is where we're going to be doing an awful lot of writing code. And this is known as an IDE. It's IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. So why IDE? Over here is where we can edit our code, and over here is where we can see the result. And down here is where we can see any error messages. And over here, there is some extra stuff called checklists and test cases. And when you put, and then up here we can get help. And over here, we'll switch back and forth between the results of our code and the result that we're trying to get. So that's a lot that's going on in this window. And since there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, we call it an Integrated Development Environment, or IDE. Anyways, I wanted to help you to get to know the CMU IDE for writing code in Python. So, as I said, over here is the editor. And there's lots of little tips and tricks that I want to let you in on. I am hopeful that you will come back to this video multiple times throughout this course to remind yourself of some tips and tricks to make your life easier. All right, so what's first? Where shall we begin? Let's see here. Let's go through and begin to write some code over here. So one of the things we'd like to do is, by the way, I'm going to say some stuff that maybe you don't understand just yet because you haven't been writing code. That's okay. You're going to learn this stuff soon enough. Let's see here. Up here is a function definition, and here is a function call. And what my goal is to make it so that when I run my code, it looks like this. This guy that we're looking at is known as the solution. And if we want to look and see what my code does, we'll click where it says My Canvas. Okay, you'll notice my canvas is drawing nothing so far. Another way to check and see what my code does is to click this Run button. Okay, and then we should look at my canvas to make sure that it matches the solution. Now, the first tip that I'm going to give you is that if we want to go back and forth between my canvas and solution, I'm going to give you a little bit of a time saver, and it's going to make your mouse hand or your trackpad finger, it's going to make it so that you're more efficient with your time. When you want to go back and forth between my canvas and solution, you don't have to move the mouse back and forth. You don't have to click here for my canvas and then click over here for solution. You can do that, but it's a waste of time. A lot of times you'll want to go back and forth multiple times, maybe quickly, and the easiest way to do that is just put your mouse anywhere on here and then click multiple times. When you click multiple times, you don't have to move the mouse from left to right or right to left. Just clicking on my canvas goes back to solution, and clicking on my canvas goes back to my canvas. So you get to choose. Just click as many times as you want and get a feel for that. Okay, now let's make it, one of the things that they recommend before we get going is that we actually read through the checklist of the things that we're supposed to accomplish. So here here's the one checklist item. Sometimes there will be more than one checklist item down here, but in this case we just have one. And then the other thing is that there's all these different test cases. And test cases are going to be really important when it comes to writing functions in Python in the CMU environment. These test cases are going to be really helpful. Okay, so anyways, so let's see if maybe I can show you how important that is. Oh, by the way, this area over here where we see the stuff being drawn, this is known as the canvas. Okay, so I know that you and I also use Canvas, so you can find your assignments and figure out what your grade is. But we're also going to use this canvas to draw on. And by the way, you might recall that if an artist is painting, a lot of times they'll paint on a canvas. Okay, down here is what's known as the console. It actually says this is the console. And this is where you will find error messages, but not just error messages. We can also use the console to print out information to help us when we're troubleshooting the code that we've written. And I'll see if I can show you that in a minute. What else? Let's go ahead and write some code. I'm gonna goof up. Normally, when I go to write the code for the body of a function definition, normally I'll be indented like right here, like this is where I write the body. Okay, but I'm gonna screw up because I want to show you something neat. Let's see here. It says draw 2 hexagons. So we're gonna do that by doing regular polygon. With the regular polygon, oh, I have all the information I need over here. By the way, what I'm doing now is I'm using what's called the inspector in the canvas. When I go over here and I click on solution, and by the way, when you're writing your code and you want to know what you're supposed to do, you always want to have the canvas in solution so that you can see what it is you're trying to get to. I have found that many times I'll be writing my code and I'll be looking at my canvas and I'll be using the inspector to inspect my canvas, and I'm like, hey, my code is working perfectly. Well, yeah, it's working perfectly to draw what you see on your canvas. What we got to do is we got to make the code so that it does what they want in solution. So always make sure you're in solution. Then come on over here and move your mouse around the canvas. And in the upper right corner of the canvas, what we see here, this is known as the inspector. So now we know this is called the canvas. This is called the console. Over here is the text editor or the editor. And when we move our mouse around the canvas, what we see in the upper right corner is known as the inspector. Okay, now, if for some reason you're moving the inspector around and you don't see something, a lot of times you'll hold the control key down and then move your mouse around, and then all of a sudden stuff shows up on the inspector. Also, notice down here in the lower right corner of the canvas, that tells you where your mouse is positioned. The canvas itself starts up here at 0, 0 and goes all the way down here to 400, 400. Whenever I want to know where my mouse is on the canvas, I can look at the X and the Y here, and that tells me. Also, if I want to have a grid on the canvas to remind me of what the X values are and what the Y values are at a glance, I can always click on this. Looks a little bit like a hashtag. It says toggle grid view, and it will put this grid on. If I want to get rid of it, I just click on it again. Okay, I'm going to leave that there for a minute. Okay, so I can see that I've got a regular polygon, and I know that because I've been writing this code for a bit. You'll learn it as you go. Its radius is 100. Oh, its center is at 200, 100. So I'm going to go ahead and put 200, 100. And then I'm going to put the center that is the center. Then I'm going to put the radius at 100. And for a regular polygon like this, I need to tell it the number of sides, so I'm going to put 6. And then I've got to give it the color, and that's green. So I'm going to put fill equals green. And I think that'll be pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and try to hit run. And immediately I get an error in the console. Remember we talked about this thing down here called the console? Well, now when I hit run, I'm getting an error message there. Okay, it says at line 5 it expected an indent. Well, check this out. Over here, I would like to move that code to the right, and then it'll work better. But before I do, let's have a few more lines of code because I want to show you something that's kind of interesting. Let's say that I've written all kinds of lines of code. In fact, I'm just going to copy this and paste it over and over. I'm going to go Control C, and I'm gonna go Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V. Now I know that all these look like this. I want you to pretend for a second that these are different lines of code and that they look differently. But let's pretend that and we're not even pretending, but let's say that we want to move these lines of code from the left and we want to move them over to the right, okay, by I believe 1 tab, okay, and that's the way we'll indent, is we'll use the tab key to move 1 indent at a time. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to highlight all these lines of code. First, I'm going to click at the beginning of line 5, and then I'm going to hold the Shift key down on my keyboard, and then I'm going to hit the down arrow on my keyboard until all the lines of code are highlighted. Please rewind this and play and get this in your brain. This is going to save you so much time when you're writing code in the future. Okay, so anyways, now that I've highlighted all those lines of code quickly and easily and accurately, I'm going to hit my tab key on the keyboard 1 time. Bam! Notice how all the lines of code got shifted over to the right? Yay! We love that. Now, for those of you that are wondering, there will be times where you will need to shift multiple lines of code. You will need to shift them, let's see here, you will need to shift them back to the left. Okay, when that time comes, you hold the Shift key down and hit the Tab key 1 time. Okay, so Shift Tab gets us to go to the left, and just hitting Tab gets us to go to the right. So I'm going to hit the Tab key again, and all the code is moved back to the right, 1 indentation. Yay! Super cool. Okay, now I'm going to hold the Shift key down and hit down arrow to get rid of some of these extra lines of code. And I know that I need to draw 2 hexagons, so I'm going to go back to Solution. Notice I can click on My Canvas to go back to Solution, and I'm going to click on My Canvas a few times so I can go back and forth. Let's see here. Oh, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and hit Run. I want you guys to notice that now when I go back and forth between My Canvas and Solution, on My Canvas I can see I've drawn 1 hexagon, and on Solution I need to have 2. Okay, so we're going to work on that. Okay, what else? I'm giving you guys a few tips and tricks as we go. So far we learned that you don't need to move the mouse back and forth over here, and we also learned how to highlight multiple lines of code using the Shift key and the down arrow on your keyboard. And we also learned how to move code to the right or the left using Tab or Shift Tab. So these things are they're gonna help you over and over again. Again, you may want to come back and watch this video again in the future in this course. Okay, so what else do we got to do? I want both of these guys not to be green all the time. How do I know that? Watch this. If I click down on the second test case and I go back up here and I go back and forth between Canvas and Solution, you can see my Canvas, the hexagon's green. In Solution, it's purple. The test case helps me determine that. Now, that doesn't mean go over here. By the way, the color is purple. That doesn't mean come over here and change this to purple. Watch what happens if I do. Okay, I'll hit Run. I'll go back and forth, and and let's get rid of that second. By the way, hashtag comments out a line so it does not run. I'm going to go ahead and hit Run. And I'm going to go back and forth. Great. The purple works, but the problem is that the autograder is not going to pass me until all the test cases work. So, and now if I go back to the green test case and run and go back and forth, you can see that my Canvas or my Solution, my Canvas is not working properly. Okay, it's not working properly for the green test case. It works great for the purple test case, but not for the green. Okay, so there's something more that I need to do here, and that's why we really need to get used to using these test cases and these checklists. Again, if there was more than one item here in the checklist, then we would go down and click on it and then go through its test cases as well. Okay, so what are we going to do to make it so that our code works for all the test cases? Well, we're going to go ahead and use this parameter called color to replace the color here. So instead of specifying a specific color, we will let our function call specify the color at the time of the function call. So let's see here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit run. And then I'm going to go back and forth, and you can see that I've got a green hexagon on my canvas and in solution. When I go down to the purple test case and I go back and forth, you can see that I got a purple hexagon in my canvas and in solution. Yay! And if I scroll down, and this is a good way to move down, is to, oh, by the way, if you're trying to move up and down with your Chromebook, or your laptop in the classroom, usually I find that 2 fingers on the trackpad lets me scroll up and down. I just got to get my 2 fingers I got to get the mouse where, in the section of the IDE where I want to move up and down, and then once I'm in that area, I press with 2 fingers, and I will drag up and down, or right and left, as needed in order to move around. Or you can click on a bar and go up and down. But I just find the 2 fingers on the trackpad up and down just makes things so faster. So again, another tip and trick. Okay, so let's see here. So let's see what else we got. So for Sienna, notice that my code also works for the Sienna test case. So yay! So that is the whole point to you guys learning how to code here, is that we want your code to be able to work even when given a variety of different situations. Okay, what else? We got to draw 2 hexagons. Let's see here. What else did I want to show you? Oh, sometimes we don't want, I'm going to go back and do this thing again where I pasted all this code if I can. Let's try this. Okay, so let's say that I've got all this code, and let's say that just for a minute I don't want that code to run. I'll hold the shift key down, hit the down arrow, and highlight all the lines of code that I don't want to run. Okay, and then this little button here is called toggle comment. If I click on that guy, it automatically adds hashtags to all the lines of code that are selected, and that means those lines of code will not run. And if I click toggle comment again, it'll get rid of those hashtags, and then that code can run. So if I ever want to temporarily just disable some of my code, highlight the code and then toggle comment. Okay. Of course, you can do it 1 line at a time, adding hashtags, but that is so slow. We don't like that. What else? Anything else exciting up here? There is a find function where you can search and replace. I'm not going to demonstrate that, but it's really cool. If you have questions, let me know. Oh, also, you could do the indent and unindent using these buttons up here. I wish that they showed you tab and shift tab, but they don't. And of course, you can also see undo and redo. So hopefully you guys are good with that. If you ever write a lot of code and you want to get back to something that you tried previously and you can't remember quite what it was, or you changed a lot of stuff, you can always go into code history, and then you can go back as far as you need to go. And what you'll do is you'll just go and you'll double check, make sure that's what you wanted, and then restore version. Okay, I'm getting mostly through this. I'm just about done. What else? I'm going to pause for. All right. So first of all, sorry about the wall of words here. I apologize for so many words. But rather than talking you through all these, I thought I'd just present. These are all the tips. These are the main tips that I covered in this video. I'm going to make it so that when you go to access this video in Canvas, when you go to click on the link to get to it, I will make it so that this page or this slideshow is available to you, so that you can have a little bit of a table of contents to figure out whether or not you need to watch the video to get these hints. You can remind yourself whether or not what you need is in this video. Anyways, these are the things that we covered, and I am hopeful that if you study these and try and use these on a regular basis, that you will save yourself a ton of time. And that means you can focus on trying to figure out how to solve challenging problems instead of spending all your time trying to, manipulate the coding environment. Anyways, thank you for watching, and good luck out there.